So, hi everyone. I'm actually starting on time with no technical difficulties, so I'm super excited about that. Um, Today we're going to talk a little bit about, not to just today, but we're going to talk about the book, Start Each Day with a Smile. And the main focus today is getting started. So, we talked a little bit about like different aspects of the book and how the book can help you. But one of the things we haven't talked about was like, why should we get started? Why should we get started with the whole self care process? So, one of the biggest pieces that we have trouble with is like negative self-talk. We have things that are ingrained in us that it's like we're not good enough. We're not going to be successful. We're not going to succeed. Like a lot of negative cognitions that have been ingrained, and it holds us captive, and we continue to think, okay, well, I shouldn't do this, or I can't do that, or all these negative things that we have ingrained that we can't get rid of. So there are many reasons to get started. For those of you who have already started your self care journey, good for you. Congratulations. I hope it's going well. You're welcome to always email or comment and let me know how your self care journey is going. If you are struggling with your self care journey, you're welcome to reach out and contact me as well, because I would love to help you through this process as much as I can. Not as a therapist, but as a person who is on a self care journey herself. So anything that I say or do is not from like the therapist perspective, it's more from like a person who's going through this journey as well. So again, like getting started. Oh man. So the first part of the book is the introduction. Never let self-doubt hold you captive. And that is one of the things that we find that holds us back a lot. Um, we have these thoughts about like, okay, what is self-care? Why do we need self-care? People are talking about self-care, and what is it? What is it exactly? And why do I need it in my life? So I just finished a round of self-care interviews that will be airing in September for self-care awareness month. And one of the biggest things that I noticed was that everyone has a different perspective of self-care. And not everyone see it as something that they should complete daily, but they see it as something that they should like do when they're tired or exhausted, or okay, why am I not feeling good about this, or why I'm not feeling good within myself. And usually that's when they start tapping into self-care. So the reason why you should get started on your journey today, not tomorrow, not the beginning of the year, not the beginning of the month, not the beginning of the week, but today is for you. It's for you to be healthy. It's for you to be a better version of yourself. And it's also to replenish the energy that you're trying to put out. So you should definitely get started today. Okay. Thank you guys for joining me. You're welcome to comment as much as possible. I love to get like questions and feedback, especially if you are having trouble starting your journey. So, um, one of the things that I wrote in the book that comes to mind is like the self doubt piece. Like, um, we don't think that we are valued enough to invest in ourselves, so we don't get started. We don't think about like what does it mean to invest in myself. We don't think about like how invested in yourself is really like, when you invest in yourself, you're like spreading all that to other people as well. So it's very important to get started. But self doubt is like a monster in its own. Like it's something that just holds us back, and it can come back from childhood experiences. It can come back from like a conversation you had with your friend one day. It can come from like a review from a boss. And self-doubt tells us that we don't deserve to practice self-care. We don't deserve to have this. We don't deserve to have that. And it decreases our value and our worth. And once we get down that negative cycle, it's like it's there now. Now we have this negative cycle that we're in, and we stop taking care of the things that are important to us. And the first thing that should always be important is yourself. And once we start like to realize that, hey, I'm important, I'm valuable, I deserve these things, that's when we can start a healthy self-care journey. Um, so the one of the other reasons to get started is like the energy that you bring around yourself. Like once you're on this journey and you're starting to take care of yourself, you find that your energy is better. Like you want to do things that are healthy for you. You want to do things that pour back into you. Like if you like to meditate, you find that you enjoy meditating more. It's not a it's not a task. It's not something that someone made you do. It's something that you're enjoying. So starting a self-care journey just helps you start to like learn more about yourself, and you start to reflect. Reflecting is always good. Um, Self-reflection is not something that we always like to do. But it's like once you start your self-care journey, self-reflection becomes a part of the process. And when you're reflecting on it, like when you're reflecting, you're also able to like critique yourself and make changes for the better. So it's like, okay, this is a good affirmation for me. I'm a positive person. I am a successful person. I am enough. And you start to pour into yourself more and more because you learn that you are worth it. You learn that you deserve to pour into yourself more than you're pouring into other aspects of your life, if that makes sense. Um, some of the other reasons to get started with self-care is that, man, um, it's for you. Like if you don't do anything else in this whole year, is in the whole year of 2020, which has been like quote unquote a train wreck. If you don't do anything for yourself this year, start practicing self-care. You should get started for you. You are the main reason why you should get started for self-care. So Kelly's asking, so I like questions. So Kelly's saying, what can I do for self-care as my husband and I start marriage counseling to try to save our marriage? Um, so I would say that focusing on yourself is important. Um, Self-care may look very different for you. Yes. Okay. So self care may look different for you as far as like making sure that you are emotionally taking care of yourself. So that may mean that you look at some affirmations that are positive for you to practice every morning. That may mean that you take walks by yourself. That may mean that you create something that that is just for you. I had someone say that they have a routine where they sit at the kitchen table and they drink tea or coffee in the mornings, and that's the time for them to be with themselves. So if things are hard in your life, it's very important to carve out time for yourself. Like you can't fight any battles in life if you're not taking care of yourself. Like you don't have any strength or energy to do that. So one of the things I really think that is very important is like actually acknowledging and knowing that you deserve your self-care time. So self-care can be anything for you. I really, really like baths. And because of my surgery, I unfortunately cannot take baths. I have to take just showers, and it is driving me insane. So, but it's also like teaching me other ways to practice. I would be in the tub every day because I just love baths, and not being able to do that has made me like tap into some other ways to practice self-care and take care of myself. So finding a list of things that work for you, making a list of things that make you feel good. I did an interview today, and someone was talking about like their favorite shirt make them feel good, and no one has to know that you're like trying to motivate yourself. But if you have a favorite shirt or something like that that makes you feel good, wear that. Doing little things that make you feel good about yourself is a great way to start practicing self-care every day, and just finding new ways to get started with your self-care journey. That may be looking at new things like every day challenging yourself, like what am I going to do today to practice self-care. That may mean waking up 15 minutes early to do something that you want to do. It may mean like now that school is starting, you may need more time for yourself because you're focused on your kids during the school time. So there are so many reasons to get started like today with self-care, just because um, once you get started, like there's so many benefits from it. And keeping a journal, yes, I mean the book will help you journal, yes it does, but keeping a personal journal or a side journal also helps you reflect back on like, okay, well, when I started on this day 2 months ago, this is what I was doing, and now look at me now. So having a record of like how you have improved, how you have grown as you go through your journey is very important as well. So you get to see all the results. People get to notice you as well. Like Shlita was saying, being around positive people, like once you start your self-care journey, you notice that like a lot of negativity is not tolerated. A lot of things that you used to tolerate before, you don't tolerate anymore. The way you talk to yourself, you don't talk to yourself that way anymore. The way you look at the world doesn't look the same anymore. There's more positive things in the world than it was before, because you have started to value yourself and value the way that you want like your time and your energy. You've been valuing the things that are important to you, and things start to change when you start your self-care journey. I know for me, there has been a lot of challenges, and gosh, everyone who knows me knows, not everyone, but majority of people that knows me knows, like, it has been really rough. And I kid you not, had I not had started this self-care journey, things would look a whole lot different. I probably wouldn't even be able to do this live this today, because it's been really awful. It's been really not awful. It's been really interesting, this journey. And being able to practice self-care, that also means that probably after this video, I'm probably going to go to bed, because that's part of my self-care routine. It's going to bed as much, like, as early as possible, and I'm okay with that. Like, the fact that I'm okay with going to bed at probably 7:30, and not feeling bad about it at all, is a part of my self-care journey. And had I not gotten started when I did, I don't know how I would be today, basically. So there are so many benefits. I'm enjoying sleep more. That's one of the benefits of starting a self-care journey. I'm learning to say no. I'm learning to say yes to things too. Gosh, I became like a hermit, and my friends are inviting me to do things, and I'm saying yes to those things. And usually I'll be like, I don't know. Let me think about it. And I'm more active now, because I'm learning to say yes to some things and no to others. So there's a very healthy balance. And I found that because I started my self-care journey, I'm learning what self-care looks like. Self-care does look like spending time with your friends. And you may not know that. You may not see that as a self-care. You may see that as socialization or whatever, or socializing, or just spending time or hanging out. But I find that being around positive people and my friends and people that really support me really fills my cup, and I love it. So being able to recognize when you are being filled up and all that good stuff as self-care is important too. I think that you don't notice what is self-care if you're not on that actual journey. If you're not being mindful and intentional about the things that you're doing, you don't really notice what's self-care and what's not self-care, or what is damaging and what's not damaging. So practicing self-care and starting your self-care journey is like, oh man, it's life-changing. I don't know what else to say about it, but it's life-changing. What are some other reasons to get started with a self-care journey? I can't really say factually that it helps your life, help you live a longer life, but I think it does make you happier and healthier. So there are physical reasons to practice self-care. There are spiritual reasons to practice self-care. There are social reasons to practice self-care. I mean, there are financial reasons to practice self-care. Like, you may have some issues with spending, and I sometimes, if you ask my friends, I think I was trying to find a hair dryer, and like, I was like, should I buy this hair dryer? Should I not buy this hair dryer? And buying the hair dryer was a self-care act, right? But for me, I was like, nope, I'm not gonna do it, not gonna do it, not gonna do it. And but for me, it was so, like, when I got that hair dryer, I was like dancing. It was the one with the brush and everything, and I loved it so much. But that was for me self-care, and I needed like permission to do that, and that's kind of like not okay. So I'm learning to like financially be responsible, and that can be self-care as well. So like, I'm not saying I'm going on shopping sprees all the time, but buying things that are good for me is self-care. But being able to recognize that that's financial self-care. Buying a meal that you like is financial self-care. So just looking at things that you can find for self-care, um, you start looking at things a lot differently once you start on the self-care journey. So being intentional about the things that you do, not just buying, like for me, buying the hair dryer wasn't like just something I was just doing. I was being intentional with it, and it brought me joy. And I really enjoyed it. So some of the other reasons why you should start a self-care journey. I think having a baseline of your growth is very important. So if you realize that, like, say for instance, you are doing something for yourself like once a week or whatever that is, and then you realize after you've been practicing self-care and making it a routine that you're practicing self-care every day, within a month, it's like, okay, look at the growth. And then you can also realize, like, okay, this really works. Like, this is a real thing. It really works. I'm noticing that I'm happier. I've noticed that these things are going on. I'm financially responsible. I'm taking care of myself spiritually, like you may notice like areas that you were not focused on are also being watered and replenished and all those other good things because you're practicing self-care. So I think that it's really good to reflect on like your journey overall. So that's a good reason to start self-care if you want to see like, okay, is this self-care thing really real? We talk about it all the time, all the time. Oh, self-care, 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 but we never actually do it. So actually having a date that you say, well, this is the day I started my self-care journey, and then having like reflections on it. I'm an advocate of journaling again. Having being able to reflect on it, you'll see like your growth. And if it doesn't, if you're like, well, practicing self-care didn't work for me, I tried it for a month, and you have proof that you tried it for a month and it didn't work for you, then fine. But I haven't met anyone yet who's like, nah, self-care isn't for me, it don't work. I found people who say, well, I don't think of myself often. I do for others more than I do for myself. I'm a mom. I don't have time for that. Or I have to take care of my parents who are aging. Like, we have so many different reasons as to why we don't practice self-care, and not enough reasons why we should. And even if we do know why we should practice self-care, we still are not motivated enough to practice it every day. So let's see, what are some other reasons? Do you guys have any questions so far about like why you should start your self-care journey or how to get started? Those who are listening? All right, so one of the things that I put in the book was practicing self-care helps you regain control over your life. Like the way things are going right now, there's so many things that are happening that are out of our control. But the one thing we can do is take care of ourselves. And we don't even think about like the little things that we do for ourselves that are important, such as like just sleeping, right? Sleeping is like something everybody have to do, but we don't even look at it as self-care. We just look at it as something we have to do. Oh, the day is over with and I'm tired and I'm done. So this is not like self-care. It's just going to sleep, but it truly is self-care. It truly is self-care. Tanya said needing clarity on financial self-care. So you can be like really, you can be one of those people that really spend a lot of money, or you can be a person who holds tightly to their money and never wants to spend it. So financial self-care is budgeting and planning and making good financial decisions so that when you make that purchase, you know for a fact that it was a good purchase, if that makes sense. Like, it's not something that you feel guilty about. For me, sometimes I was feeling guilty about, like, when I make purchases, I feel really guilty about things sometimes and I want to bring it back. And I remember like Cornell telling me, no, Myra, you can't do that. And I'm like, well, nope, we're gonna need this money later. And if you're budgeting and planning and organizing, if you do spend X amount of money, it's okay because you're okay with that because you took care of it, so you don't have those feelings of guilt or shame or wanting to bring those products back because you budget and financially planned for it. um that makes sense. So I'm trying to, so for me, financial self-care, I'm trying to get a balance for it. I'm not there yet. I take months to buy something. Anything over $25, I am like, ugh. Nope, 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 nope. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it unless it's food, but I don't want to do it. And I'm trying to find like, okay, you deserve this, girl. Like, you deserve this pair, these pair of shoes. You deserve this dress. You deserve this shirt. Like, trying to make sure that I am appreciating myself for all the hard work that I do. I'm not spending anyone else's money. It's mine. I earned it. And sometimes there's guilt associated with that. So financial self-care just looks like not being guilty or being ashamed about the purchases that you make, as long as they're healthy purchases. If that makes sense. Let's see. Give me 1 second. Okay. And Ika Jones asked if I wanted to buy my kids a new bed because it makes me feel like a good provider, even if it's not me. Is it self-care? Yes. I do think that's self-care. I think that's self-care because you're saying it makes you feel like a good mom and a provider. So that's pouring back into yourself. Like, that is affirming who you are as a mom. And it doesn't sound like you're like, I'm going to buy the most expensive bed in the world because I want to. It sounds like you're saying, I want to buy my kids a new bed. And it makes you feel good about yourself. So I think you should go and do that. If it doesn't break the bank, if it's within your budget and you can afford it, you should be able to do that. And that is self-care, even though it's not directly focused on you. It is self-care because you're pouring into your kids who are a reflection of you. So I think that's a good idea. Now I'm not the one that's in charge of your money either, so you need to really consider and make sure that that's a good choice for you. But that is something, like if that's on your to-do list of like things that you want to get accomplished, and that's on your to-do list, like as far as self-care and things that like make you feel good, I think that's okay. Like your self-care list can extend to others as long as it's pouring back into you, if that makes sense. Like if you do volunteer work, um, like for me, I was volunteering for pancreatic cancer, and for me that felt really good and important to me. So when I was doing the volunteer work, it didn't cost me anything. Like it didn't cost me time, it didn't cost me anything. It just felt like it felt so good to me. Like I enjoyed it so much and it was pouring back into me, so I felt like it didn't cost me anything. And that was something that helped me out a lot as far as self-care goes. Like when I was doing my volunteer work, I felt like I was giving back. I felt like I was honoring my mom, and it made me feel really, really good. And that is a part of my self care journey. So whatever I can do when it comes down to pancreatic cancer, I most definitely try to do the best that I can, because for me that is pouring back into me, and it's honoring my mom, and it's filled with love and all those wonderful feelings. So I really love the fact that I'm able to do that. So whenever I get an opportunity to do that, even though it's not directly associated with me, it's still self care. So I make sure that when I write down the things I want to get accomplished for self care, I put pancreatic cancer in my goals for the year. Like I want to do something in volunteer work for pancreatic cancer every year, and that's my self care goal. How can I practice healthy self care in a stressful work environment? Whew. Okay, so that's a good question, Shalita. I think a lot of us are having like some issues with stressful work environments, and so the biggest thing would be like, what can you do discreetly that allows you to breathe, and what can you do discreetly to allow you to like release any stress or negativity as you're like in meetings and conferences, and like even on Zoom calls. People can see your facial expressions on Zoom calls, and yeah, they don't like those things. So I would say like maybe using a stress ball if you're one of those people who like texture. I like to doodle. Doodle is self-care for me. Like when I'm in a stressful environment that I cannot get out of, I like to doodle. I like to draw people. Well, they're not really people, they are stick people. They don't have a lot of definition, but it makes me feel good when I doodle. I like to take deep breaths. And one of the things that I enjoy too is like if you have a beverage, you can take that time out to drink. Like if you're in a bottle, if you have a bottle or a mug or something like that, as you're drinking, like count to 10. No one really knows what you're doing, so your face is kind of like, just engaged in the drinking process, but count to 10. Think of 5 positive things that you have going for yourself. And I love affirmations, like thinking of 5 affirmations or 3 affirmations that affirm as the reason why you're actually in that work environment. So I do have a job. I'm grateful that I have employment. I'm grateful for the position that I have. So thinking about like affirmations and positive things that you can do to negate all the stressfulness that's going on in your environment. And if your work is very nice and they have like self-care days, I would definitely take a self-care day or a mental health day if that's possible. If you have PTO, use it. Use your PTO. If you're like so stressed out to where you're in the car and you want to cry, use your PTO days. Use that they're your personal time off days. Even if that means that you may miss a meeting, if that means that you may be a day behind on work, you deserve to take time off and take care of yourself. So I support PTO days. I support mental health days, and I support taking time off. Even for me, before my journey, I would like not cancel like any sessions or anything like that. I will work through it and power through it. And I'm learning to be able to say like, it's going to be okay. I can reschedule this session. It's going to be okay. I won't be as productive if I take this schedule and continue with this schedule. So let me go ahead on and cancel my clients for today and reschedule them for another day, because I'm not effective right now. So being able to know within yourself, like, this is too much. So taking time off is definitely important. I definitely support you taking time off. So anyone else have any questions? Okay. So, I mean, those are great reasons to get started. Like, just because, like you're saying, like how you'll be able to learn like how to deal with stressful work environments, practicing financial self-care, practicing different things in your area, because like we need that self-esteem. We need to know that what we're doing is like important. So self-esteem help us say, you know what, I deserve a day off. Like, this is too much for me. I deserve a day off. Or having that self-esteem and those boundaries of saying, you know what, I can budget this out. So it may mean that it may take me 2 weeks or 3 weeks to like save the money up to get this item that I want, but I can budget this out because I deserve it. And that is setting boundaries within yourself. It's saying like, don't go make that big purchase at one time. Put money aside weekly, or however you may have to set up, but putting money aside weekly, just to get the item that you want. But that's boundaries within yourself. So you're looking at like, okay, I also have to set boundaries within myself. I can't spend too much, but I also can't hold on so tightly to my money to where I'm not even enjoying the things that I'm doing with it. Just said it helps me to try being peer spirit up. Sometimes it's hard. So much negativity. How can I project the self care? I like that. So modeling self care is very important too. So once you, because I know you do have the book Shalithas, and you are doing your journey, and I'm very proud of you. So modeling self care. When people are being negative, it's so nice to say like something positive. Like every time someone says something negative, follow it up with three positives. I like to do that. When I'm in an environment like that, following up with three positives, or trying the best to do something that's positive. Projecting self-care looks like you smiling, looks like you disengaging from negativity, looks like you being nice even when you don't want to. That may mean like giving everyone a compliment, or trying to find the positives in the situation. And so once you start to find positives in the situations, you look at it very differently. So um, the most simple, like the simplest thing is, I have a job to go to. And that's for me, like right now, and the things that's going on with us, that's the most positive thing right now, is that I do have a job to go to. I do have a job that helps me pay my bills. I'm grateful to be here. I'm happy to be here. And finishing this day out is definitely going to, this is 8 hours that's going to go towards my rent. This is 8 hours that's going to go towards my do all these things. But the fact that you have a job is amazing. So you can start doing affirmations. You can start incorporating things that you do. Hey, teaching people how to take deep breaths is important too. So teaching people what you're learning through your self-care experience is important too. So either they're going to be around you and say, give me more of it, or they're going to go away from you because they don't like it. And either way it go, you're going to get what you want, because you're going to be in a positive environment regardless. So if that makes sense. So there are so many reasons to get started with self-care, just because, like, again, I do think systemically, because I'm a marriage and family therapist, systemically, what you put out, like, it's going to impact everyone around you. So once you get started, people around you are going to notice, like, oh, wow, your smile is brighter. You're glowing. Girl, what you got going on? Let me get some of that too. And you start to notice that people are like, people are being nicer around you and stuff like that, and you're like, okay, what is this? And your environment starts to change. So whatever you're putting into yourself, people start to like want more of it. Like the ones who want it, they want more of it. They want to learn more about it. They want to know what you're doing, because they want more of what you got too. So once you start your self-care journey, you start to influence everyone around you. That means, like, even if you give like a compliment, like say for instance, you give a compliment to someone who's having a bad day, you have no idea what that person went through the night before. So that one compliment that you gave them, because you're just being yourself, can like change their whole outlook for the day. And then that means that they can touch somebody else, and then they can touch somebody else, and it just keeps going on and on. So starting your self-care journey is not just for you too. You can start it for the purpose of like just reaching others and spreading some positivity, because we know we need positivity right now. All right. So let's see. I'm thinking of other ways that, I mean, the main reason is like, all I can say is like, get started for you. Like, if you are not happy with the life that you have now, if you want to gosh, if you want to like basically just a different perspective, like this is a great time to start now. It's a great time to like just start this self-care journey. If you want a different life, if you're noticing that you're not happy, if you're noticing that things are not going the way you want it to go, I noticed that being around my friend who uses the word manifest a lot, I started picking up the word manifest, right? And I love the way that with my book that I have, my planner, I love the way manifest like fits into my life. And when I think of the word manifest, I can see the things that are manifesting in my life because I'm putting those things out there. And so if you want to start changing your life and you want things to look a little differently, this is a great reason to start your self-care journey. It's an absolutely perfect time to start, and it's a great reason to get started. Just because you want a better life, you want to be happier, you want to be healthier, you want some more tools in your toolbox. You want, if you're struggling with boundaries, everybody struggle with boundaries. If you're struggling with boundaries, it's a great time to start. If you're struggling with self-love, it's a great time to start. If you don't know what self-love is, it's a great time to start. If you are struggling with self-esteem, it's a great time to start. If you are struggling with personal growth doesn't always look like you are like, for the most part, personal growth doesn't always look like just like the smaller pieces of your life. It can be professional as well, like asking for that raise, being able to take criticism, being able to look at feedback and say, okay, thank you for that. I'll try to work on that and improve. Like it extends in so many different ways. So personal growth. So if you're looking for ways to just improve your life overall, this is a perfect time to start. All right. Does anyone have any comments or questions or any more questions? All right, so I'll talk a little bit about our promotion in August. We will have a promotion coming up in August. I'm hoping that you guys are staying tuned for that. We'll start rolling it out very soon. And how can you tie self-care with emotional intelligence? Okay, all right. So how can you tie self-care with emotional intelligence? Gosh, being able to connect with yourself. Like a lot of us are, I wouldn't say, this is not to offend anyone, but I wouldn't say that we're all emotionally intelligent, if that makes sense. A lot of times we can't connect feeling, okay, this is a deeper question, Shalita, but what, okay. Sometimes we don't really connect with our feelings. We just think, and we think that because we're thinking it that is true and it's facts, and then we neglect our emotions, so we just go on and on and on. So being able to actually connect with your emotions, like being able to know, like, I am sad, and sitting in that sadness, oh man, that is self-care. Yeah, it feels yucky, it feels terrible to sit in that yuckiness, but why am I sad? What happened to make me sad? And making sure that you know that it's okay to be sad, that is emotionally intelligent. Like, that's being emotionally intelligent, and that is taking care of yourself. Understanding your own emotions is like very important, and we don't connect with our emotions that much. And I'm glad you brought it up though, Shalita. We don't really connect with our emotions. Like when we're happy for X amount of time, and then we're on to our next thing. We don't really celebrate ourselves. When we're sad, we want to get out of that, and we want to move out of it so fast. And I'm guilty of that sometimes too. Like when I'm angry, we can stay angry for a long time, right? But those other emotions, we don't really like sit with it. And once we start to sit with our emotions and really understand where they're coming from, that is self-care, because now we can get out of it in a healthy way versus like burying it. A lot of us bury our emotions and feelings. Oh, this is too tough for me. I don't want to deal with this. That's not self-care. That is like you're burying it and burying it and burying it, and then you're causing other stuff to happen, like unhealthy things to happen. The biggest thing that happens mentally is anxiety, because we don't want to deal with our problems, so we start to just bury the stuff, and that's not self-care. We're not connecting ourselves. We're not connecting with our emotions, and that's not self-care. So I will talk more about that when we step into self-love. I'll talk about like being able to really sit with our emotions, sit with our yuckiness, sit with the yucky feelings that we have and we don't know where they're coming from. But once you're able to sit in your worst times, right? Because we want people to love us in our worst times. But if we're not able to sit with ourselves and be with ourselves in our worst time and actually understand what's going on in our bodies, then how can someone else love us? How can someone else be with us if we're not able to even sit with ourselves during times that we are we're not feeling good? And Olivia says, how do we identify our emotions? Okay, so I like to use an emotional wheel. There's a list of like feelings, and I think I actually posted it on social media. Basically, sitting with your feelings, and like if you're sad, like sometimes sadness look different for other people. Sometimes sadness look like crying. Sometimes sadness just is a feeling of like heaviness and not wanting to be around other people. There's so many ways that we identify sadness. There's so many ways we identify emotions. So for you, Olivia, I would say that the answer to your question is very personal. Like it's a personal question for you to tap into that yourself. Like I would suggest writing down like 5 or 6 feelings that that you actually experience throughout the week. And then when you're having like a certain mood swing, write down exactly, like look at your feeling list and say, okay, which one of these am I feeling right now, so that you can start identifying your emotions. There are Pinterest wheels of emotions. There's something that I post on Facebook as well about emotions. So being able to identify your emotions is very important, but it looks different for everybody. Like everyone looks different when they're happy, look different when they're sad. So that question is like, it's a broader question that can be personalized to one person. So I would recommend like you actually identify your 4 core emotional feelings that you actually experience like frequently, and then start to like tap into that. Okay, why am I feeling this way? What does it look like when I'm sad? What does it look like when I'm happy? What does it look like when I'm nonchalant? What does it look like when I'm confused? Like figuring out exactly what that means, and then you start to figure out, okay, where does this come from? And now you can go deep into it. And that is self-love, understanding why you're feeling the way you're feeling. And sorry, my video was interrupted, but taking time out for that is important as well. So that is self-care. Even if it's a yucky feeling, even if it's anger, sitting here and saying, okay, why did I get angry? That is self-care, because you're like, okay, if I know why I'm feeling this way, I can either control it better, or I can handle it better, or I can process it better. So that is important as far as self-care goes. All right. So any other questions? Those were good questions. Thank you guys for being engaging. I really appreciate it. So I hope that you're leaving here realizing that there are so many reasons to get started with self-care. There are so many reasons why self-care is important. Not just talking about it. Talking about it does not solve anything. Talking about it just is what's the point if you're not going to do it? So getting started for you is the best reason, and the ones that are around you. So if you want to have positive energy and you want to put out some goodness, get started with your self-care journey. Would you be open to have closed group sessions? Yes, I would be open to that. Actually, I was hoping that the self-care group Start Each Day with a Smile on Facebook is a place for you guys to ask those questions, and like as you're going along the journey, being able to ask those questions. So if you're not a part of the group, Shalita, I would definitely invite you to it, or send you a link to it, because, or post, I also posted with this video as well, because that's where I'm hoping to get more like more personal questions, people who are actually reading the book, who are practicing every day. That's, I try to give motivation as much as possible about like the self-care journey, and I'm hoping that people who want to like just practice it every day with me can go have a place to go safely and ask questions. And then as a community of people who are like practicing self-care, you guys can start answering questions for each other as well. Like, okay, I'm struggling today. What's some self-care tips? And someone else can give you a tip that's working out for them too. So as this whole platform grows, I'm hoping that we find a place where we can be safe and feel secure and able to say, hey, I'm having a bad day. What are some things that you guys suggest? Or hey, I'm off my self-care game. What are some good things that you guys suggest? And tips don't just come from me. They start coming from the community as a whole, because everybody's going through this self-care journey together. So, all right. So that is it for today. I'll put all the links in the in the comment section once the video is loaded. If you guys have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out. You can get the book at mwilkinsonconsulting.org. All right, I'll be back again in 2 weeks to talk about chapter 1, which is self-esteem. And that's the part that we like to kind of like not really talk about, because no one wants to admit that they have like low self-esteem or have self-esteem issues. So that's why the book starts with that first, because we wanted to like just dig in and get started with it. So next Facebook Live, I will be talking about self-esteem and how to work through that week of self-esteem. And if you feel like you want to put the book down, again, reminding yourself, why are you getting started, and removing some of that self-doubt. So thank you guys for joining me. I look forward to seeing you guys in 2 weeks. Bye.